This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed Podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with Jay Smith from Root of Pie. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. Would you please start by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you kind of worked your way up in your career at this point, and everything in between, anything that you think is relevant and important and fun
Gosh.
or not fun?
So yeah, it's a long, strange trip.
That's fun.
I was, as a child, I grew up in California, and I'm 51 today, actually. Kicking us.
Right.
Well, I was fortunate enough to live in California as a child, so we had computers in our classroom in third grade, even though I'm that old. So, I mean, it's a rarity. So I'm a digital native, even though I'm far older than most people who are. So throughout my career, after I left the Army in transportation and logistics, I was always the computer guy. So I would always be I was the one who introduced everyone in the office to Google because I found it. I'm like, you got to check this out. Google.
That's crazy.
Like, it sounds like I'm like from the past. I'm like, let me tell you, right, as it is.
The
So
pioneer of Google. And
right.
your own. That's incredible.
Yeah. So over the course of an operations career in logistics and manufacturing, though, I was always looking for ways to optimize processes. Help, because every day, it's all 1,000 fires, and you never have enough staff, you never have enough time to do everything. So looking at things that are done the same way, the same time every day, how can we automate this stuff? So that's always really been my passion. After I left trucking several years ago, I just was ready for a change, and I went into cybersecurity for a couple of years as a private investigator, doing digital forensics. The pandemic kind of wiped that out, so I moved into building websites and doing digital marketing for a lot of my business contacts that I already knew through my networking. About 2 years ago, I pivoted directly into automation and AI. Because of my background, it's what I've always really wanted to do, as opposed to just straight up fulfillment, websites, and SEO. But nobody really knew what it was. So I had to kind of build those conversations. So I would have a client, I would have built their website, I'd be doing SEO, and I would listen for frustrations and say, hey, why don't we automate that? Now with ChatGPT hitting the scene and everyone kind of having a deeper understanding of AI, automation has kind of ridden that coattail. So a lot of people understand automation now, and it's way more accessible for smaller organizations. The reason why I focus on nonprofits is I have done this for many years for very large organizations. And in general, the role there is to get more value for shareholders, right? So what does that mean? That means when you automate processes, you lose staff. And without any regard to all of the little things that people do and the creativity they bring and the energy they bring to an organization, it's all about value. So if you remove these routine tasks from a large organization, all they see is like, all right, you don't need that person, you don't need that person, you don't need that department. The reason why I enjoy doing this for nonprofits so much is they don't see it that way. They naturally see it as great. We can now refocus on our mission. We can upskill our staff because they work for you because they're passionate about your cause. So you want to provide them, the opportunity to upskill. And I'm sorry, I'm just rambling. That's kind of what I do.
No, not at all. Some people will take 10 minutes on that bit. So honestly, I'm not even mad. That was very short and concise. And I really appreciate that because well, not the short and concise thing. That's great as well. But I appreciate you doing this kind of work for nonprofits because I do understand that if you're doing it for a different sector, then it might just be seen as replacing people or their jobs or whatever. But for nonprofits, they just move people around most
Mm.
of the time because they usually have one person wearing so many hats, too many hats. And they don't have time for things that are important sometimes because they have to do certain things in order to
Absolutely.
stay afloat. So it's such a lovely tool to be able to have, and so this is something that's so incredibly helpful um to nonprofits specifically. And I think that there's not a lot of people out there doing that for nonprofits because, you know,
Yeah, it's the shiny toy on YouTube. So, of course, as people pick their niches, they pick what they think is going to bring them the most revenue.
yes, and
I'm
nonprofits is never
I
something to
focus on
think of.
dentists, I focus on law firm, the
Yeah.
usual digital marketing pathway, like, oh, I work with med spas. Great. I have a deep passion for basically any company that really puts itself out there, any organization that wants to make a positive impact on the world, and seeing the capabilities of AI and knowing for certain how it's going to impact jobs and our roles moving forward. I think it's so important that we take this opportunity to help people refocus on what they're passionate about and bring a positive change to the world. And by taking away routine processes like accounts payable or onboarding, let a robot do that and focus on growing the nonprofit. That's just it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's amazing they get to focus on these vital parts of why they're doing what they're doing and not all of these little intricacies that take so much time but
Right.
aren't fruitful for the business necessarily. And that's
Absolutely.
incredible. So that's interesting because I was going to ask about what you meant by purpose-driven businesses. But I'm assuming you kind of just answered my question is that they kind of have a goal in mind to help others, but they're also, having outside of nonprofits, they make revenue. Is that
Yeah, so if you look at I mean, the best example or the biggest example is probably Patagonia, right? It's a for-profit business, but they're very intentional about their environmental impact, their social impact, the impact on their employees with every decision they make, what corporate sponsorships they will and will not join in with. Here in Kentucky, we're actually fortunate to have what's called the Canopy certification, and some people may have heard of like a B Corp.
Mhm.
B Corp is that's a very similar situations where it's a for-profit business, but they behave like a nonprofit. They really care about their impact on environment or their employees or social causes.
Mhm.
Um, and we have the Canopy certification here in Kentucky, and we're about to have our fourth Good Business Summit next month, which is huge. Um, Chef Edward Lee is one of our keynotes. The CEO of Maker's Mark is one of our keynotes. It's a really big deal. And so I mean, I will honestly, I say I market myself to nonprofits. I speak specifically to them. I work with them intentionally. I'll do this for anybody. But because of the way I communicate and the way I gather data from users, you're going to fall on your face if I come in there and I'm talking about how we're not laying anybody off. We're doing this to help you because you have to get the engagement from those people to get the right information and make the right decisions on what to automate. If I tell them those things and then you turn around and take this opportunity to cut staff, you've lost all the goodwill that you built. You've lost everything. You've really fallen on your face. So yeah, I'll do this even with businesses that aren't B Corps or Canopy certified or a nonprofit. But it's got to be clear, like the way I do discovery and the way because I think 80% of the battle is finding out what to automate correctly. That's the most important part. And the only way to do that is to have engagement from every level of your organization.
Yeah, and it's nice to enforce that kind of thinking because I think that um yeah, a lot of corporations or businesses or whatever it may be may come to you or someone that does something like you and think that, oh, this is a way to save money. And yeah, that's awesome. And it is. But if that's just a reason to fire people, that's sucks.
It does, and it's not that simplistic, and I don't wanna paint for-profit companies with such a broad brush because I was in them for 25 years.
Oh, of course.
But at the end of the day, it's capitalism. That's their mission. If they're publicly traded, that is their role. That is the CEO's job. The CEO is there because they are there to cut costs, raise revenue. Most companies, they view labor as their biggest expense, as their biggest basically burden. And because of that, it's the first target.
Yeah. No,
And
it makes
even their insurance, their insurance is really, really expensive. If you have less employees, you know.
okay. No, you're very much right. And I think that's why the services are really important for nonprofits because that's not a place in which I feel like the vast majority of the time that's not the place where they ever want to cut anyone, even if they do have they just want to change the way that they're doing things, to be more helpful towards the mission. And so
What
that's
many
why
people, oh, I'm
right.
sorry. What many people may not realize until you actually speak with nonprofits or work with them is, the way they get funding, whether it's through grants or through private donations or in big swaths from government programs. In general, nobody is interested in giving them funding for overhead, which is staff in most cases. But if you have R&D or special projects that are going to impact the mission, people love giving money for that. These are the kind of things that can accomplish both things.
Mm,
So if even if you automate and you upskill staff, you're still going to have attrition, especially in a very large organization like the Red Cross. You have a certain amount of people who are going to leave for other opportunities every year. And if you look at it on a macro scale, if you know next year you're going to lose 3 administrative staff just by history, rather than replacing them, hire 1 or 2 rock star fundraisers. Now you've taken your impact and you've just dialed it up. And you can replace them with the people who are already there. You can train them up and upskill them because now they have time. You have resources. So that's kind of one of my little sales pitches. Like what difference would it make? You know?
yeah, no, that's really interesting too. Do you also do that kind of consulting, I suppose, for like kind of navigating how you should organize your staff other than just um
Uh, in general senses, but for the most part, I don't want to step on anyone's toes or come in like a
yeah.
know-it-all. They know their own
No.
business very well. But oftentimes when we're chatting through things, so one part of my process is I go through the process like one of their constituents. So whether they're in the rehabilitation space or mental health or child services, I will go all the way through their web forms. I will go through all the way through their onboarding process, just so I can learn how everything works. And we can identify those gaps with our data analysis too. And so, yes, I'm going to have some opinions, but that's also the benefit of having worked with totally different kinds of organizations of all size is I have seen what others do and best practices and say, over here, they do this way. But I try not to, because the, the cleaner I can keep all of that, let them drive that bus. Right.
Of course. No, that makes sense. I just wanted to ask because you mentioned it. Sorry, I just wanted
Yeah.
that was
If it comes up, absolutely, I'll give my opinion, but they're far more an expert in what they're doing than I am.
good. You should step on any toes. Yeah, it's a good they're asking you for something specific. If
Mhm.
they ask you for more, then you can give your opinion. So that's that's definitely appreciated, I'm sure. His not being any
Huge. Oh, I'm nosy. I have to
nosy
be.
bully. Literally. Oh, they're not asking you. They're like, this guy,
Oh, yeah. Here he is again.
he's got to chill. I had to put
Coming hot, man. Cough a little bit.
doing too much. We're only
Yeah.
paying you for this. You don't have
Yeah.
to tell us that.
Right.
So, okay, this is switching gears a little bit, but I have to ask because I read it on your website, but other people who are watching might not have read it on your website. How did you come up with the name of your agency?
Oh, root of pie? And I don't remember when and where I heard this. It's just one of those things. I read a lot of philosophy. I read a lot of nonfiction, stoicism, all that stuff. I have a degree in psychology, so I'm always reading just a bunch. And a long time ago, it's just one of these things, one of these little nuggets that stuck with me. Where I believe it was a professor somewhere speaking about pie, and he said it's just so unique because it's got boundaries, like the square root of pi, if anybody remembers from their grade school days, you can't really derive it. It goes on forever. And but the idea is it still has to exist between 1.0 and 2.0. So it has guardrails, it has boundaries. However, within those boundaries, it's infinite. So that always stuck with me as such a cool concept because we're not wired to understand nothingness or infinity. We can't do it. We can't grasp it. So I like the idea that, yes, there are legal boundaries to what we can do. Yes, there are, governance boundaries to what we can do. But within those boundaries, we can do anything and we can accomplish anything, really. It just takes the right mindset and the right point of view.
That's kind of beautiful.
That's why it stuck with me.
Yeah, that's really nice. I love when people create a brand that has a personal touch like that. It's really nice to hear. And I love hearing a story behind it. I don't know. I think a lot of people want it to be plain and simple, and I get that. But at the same time, one might not work for looking up your company because there would be 17,000 different agencies. Now there's like hundreds of thousands of agencies in just the US alone. But, and, if you just have the word, SEO or something in your name, you're
Best
probably just
Louisville
finding some
SEO
other
agency.
ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. But if you have something unique, that's also really nice. And I love
Reminds me of
infinite.
the dentist near me.
Yeah, exactly.
On the building.
That's awesome. Actually, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's their name, dentist near me.
That's genius. Actually, that's actually the best thing I've ever seen. I love a good marketing tactic, I will say. It's like almost borderline manipulation, but it's fantastic.
Right.
That's kind of what marketing is a little. I love the thing that you said about infinity too. It reminds me of my parents when they always have a I love you more arguments, and then someone will eventually say, I love you infinity. It's unfathomable. They can't, it's, they can't describe how much they love each other. That's adorable. But yeah, no, that's a really lovely story to have behind your business. So I like that.
Thank you.
And the parameters are great. Okay, so I have another question about I should have another question as I am the interviewer, but anyways. Okay. Okay, so website design, right?
Mhm.
You have this thing called a website care plan, which I've never seen before. I'm sure maybe other people do it, but that phrase I've never heard before. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah. And it's kind of a holdover from what I was doing as a digital marketing agency for a couple of years, but I still have many clients who fall under it. And it's basically, I not only host the website, I make all updates for them. And on a monthly basis, if they want to add a page or if they want to add some kind of functionality or create some sort of snippet that'll block things, I just do whatever because I'm just so fast at it that I found over time when they would ask me things and I would kind of walk them through, like I would end up doing it anyway, just because it was way more efficient. That's what I do. So I just built it in. So usually when I build a website for somebody, and there are actually quite a few agencies out there that do, it's basically managed hosting, but it's also got engineering built into it. So, and some will specify, I'll give you 3 hours a month of engineering time. I am not about to start doing timekeeping. So I just say, if you need something done, I'll do it. And extremely rare that something comes up that's actually going to chew up a bunch of my time where it's like, okay, that's a little bit, excessive.
Yeah, you can just communicate that if that's.
Yeah. Or I'll just say up front, like, hey, this isn't something we can just knock out. We need, it's going to take a little time, or I can, look around and see if maybe there's a plugin or some kind of outside API we can call to do this as opposed to building it from scratch.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was just curious. I guess it might be the phrasing that's different than what I've heard in the past because I definitely recognize that word. But it's really nice to offer something like that, especially it kind of negates work that you might have to do in the future if they come back to you and say, "Hey, 6 months from now, I would like another website design," and then you might have to, instead of modifying it, it's like a lot more work.
It
That's really great.
also helps. So it helps other developers. Because one of the worst things I ever have to experience is taking over someone else's built website
Mm,
and figuring out the theme they used or or if they've got special plugins, like it's very difficult to work within someone else's work. So this way, if I built it, I'm still the one hands on with it. And unless, we have a divorce or whatever, there's really no reason to go with someone else because it's so affordable.
Yeah, of course. And that's incredibly helpful for you and them. And I completely understand we have designers that are, the focal point of our brand. And it is really helpful when you go from one designer to another designer doing a similar project. As long as you have the original file, it's so helpful because they can just do that. But if they start from scratch, they're going to make something entirely different, even if you asked for the same thing because they're
Sure.
a different designer, and that's just how it works. So yeah, it's definitely a similar thing, and it's nice to be able to um update a website on your own time when you realize that it needs to be that way. We excessively update our website like to a point of obsession, I
Oh,
think.
your own website? I never touch my website. I hate messing with my own website.
Wow. I
Most web
sometimes
developers do that I've talked to. They hate it. I hate it.
I hate it. I actually wish that we stopped looking at it every week. There's a new oh, my boss is gonna watch this. Every week it's a new template. Like, how do you guys think about this? What do you think about this? It's like, how many times can you say the same thing in a slightly different way? I love I understand, like, there's always, we have to be testing the website and seeing what's working the best, and they're
Sure.
very efficient with that, so I can't blame them, and I'm not the boss, so I don't do website development or design, so that's that's their problem. I just get feedback, and I'm like, "I didn't like how that was phrased. Can you if I was looking at the website, I wouldn't like that." So, that's all I can do. So, it's now mini game time.
Oh boy.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna start with an absurd one to break up all of the very professional questions that I've asked for.
Okay.
Alrighty. How many eggs do you think that you can eat in a day?
Oh, like
Eggs.
physically or
Really?
how many eggs can I eat in a
How
day?
many eggs do you think you can make them any style? You just
If it was something I was challenged to do and I was prepared to do it right and I was incentivized to eat as many as possible, probably 10.
only 10?
Yeah. I'm not
Oh,
I'm
you're a
50,
realistic
so I have to
person.
be a lot more careful with what I do to myself with food.
Oh yeah, you could eat 20 and die.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, I want to actually function the next day, so I say 10 and that's giving myself some grace because I would hate it.
I have received some answers to the highest one is oh, this is not podcast. The highest one on the podcast was 50, which
Mhm.
was the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life, probably. The reason that I came up with this question in the first place is because I watched this video of this woman describing her boyfriend in a fantasy football league, and their punishment of
Oh,
losing was to eat their age in eggs. And they were only in like their mid 20s.
oh, even
So
still.
and he lost one year and was sweating nightmares over the next year because he thought he was gonna lose again to have
Yeah.
to do that again. And I'm like, if it's that hard to eat 25 egg,
Yeah, I
I
can
don't
only
think
imagine.
I can I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, the egg question is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Okay, if you were to do outreach, LinkedIn or email, what do you think is the best?
Oh man. Um, I do LinkedIn, but I don't think one is best. I think it entirely dependent on your market, your messaging, your network. Um, I think cold messaging is tough no matter what you're doing, really. That's why, when I do it, I find LinkedIn allows people to gracefully just ignore me.
Yep,
I mean,
I think
and because of many, many years of spam, a lot of people are immediately triggered by cold email messages and upset with it. So I don't do cold email, but I don't have anything against it. I think it's very, very effective. I know it's very effective. It's just not what I do. I do LinkedIn primarily. I think it also, LinkedIn as a single platform allows me to do both my research on who to reach out to and to do the outreach. Email has so many different, like if I were to decide to do email, I would hire it out. Just there's so many people out there that's all they do and they're very, very good at it. And there's plenty of software platforms that they're not expensive on their own, but when you have to chain 3 or 4 of them together to do the right thing, it gets a little bit much. So I would rather just hire somebody and say, hey, I need an email campaign. But I think both of them are valid.
Yeah, I definitely think that both of them have different pros and cons. I like LinkedIn because they can, see your face.
Mhm.
I think a combination of both is really helpful too, at least in my outreach. That has been something that's really helpful. Send them an email. That might be a cold email, and then add them on LinkedIn so that when they get them, they're like, oh, this is a person that is a real person that is emailing me, and now I can associate them together. And hopefully they see them at the same time. Some people don't. And that's okay, but then they'll figure it out down the line maybe, and that would be great too. But yeah, no, I don't think that either is better or worse per se. I do think LinkedIn is nice because you can add a face to who is sending you a message, but
True.
I also think that I do not receive I don't know. I get a lot of outreach on LinkedIn, and maybe they're just not great at it. There are people. It's not like I'm purposely not answer. Like
Yeah.
I'm very kind and I will try to answer people to the best of my ability. But the more you message me, the less likely I'm to answer. And I think that people don't recognize that is annoying.
Yeah, I get, yeah. Cause yeah, if it's just one message, I'm like, no thanks. But
I
if it's like, I didn't answer it and then there's 3 or 4 more thoughts, what do you think of this? Thoughts? Like, dude, like, that's my thoughts.
like anger me. My thoughts is that I
Yeah.
don't. I'm sorry.
Right.
No.
My thoughts is block. So, right. But then with email, like there's so much automated spam that you're getting things that have nothing to do with you
Yeah, priming your
or your,
email is really important.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I think that it's you just have to do it in a correct way.
sure.
I think that there is a way to talk to people, and a lot of people don't know
No,
and
it's because they're sending it out in mass. And the idea is if I send out 10,000 messages and I get 1% blah, blah, and then that
exactly.
does 2% blah, blah, then I will end up with 10 sales. Okay. That's great.
Yeah, well,
You know,
it's a good statistic, I suppose. But the better primed your email is, the more likely you get responses. Then you could get a 7%
sure.
in that 10,000. But at the same time, if you're sending out
But
so
I
many
guess I'm weird because the idea that 93% of people hated what I said, it's like, that's not good to me.
not hated. They just,
In
don't
my mind, they did.
open it.
Right. Like this guy.
No, I completely understand. I It's really upsetting. I made my first newsletter like a month ago or something. I just do cold outreach and my email's pretty primed, so it's not that bad. But I made my first newsletter the other week, and it was October spooky themed, and
Okay.
not one response.
Fun.
It made me so sad, but I was also, my boss said to me, he was like, I didn't expect that to work. And I was like, well, thank you for telling me this after.
You gotta let people fail.
Mad.
Just I knew that wouldn't work.
Oh, they pushed
Thanks
me.
for yeah, thanks for the faith, boss.
Just wanted me to learn, I guess. I don't know. He was the one that gave me the idea. Whatever. It's very
Oh, he
he's
set you
funny,
up
but
too.
he did. He set me up. He's
Wow.
mean. But sometimes he does that. It's very fun, actually. It's not that bad, but it didn't take me that much work, so it's not like obscenely upsetting. Anyway, okay, we have another absurd question. Let's
Okay.
think. Mm. You were stuck on a deserted island would you rather be with someone that you hate or alone?
I would say with someone I hate
Okay.
because I think that's going to change very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think loneliness is going to kill you no matter who you are.
That's very
Especially if you're on a deserted island, and loneliness is going to kill you before anything. You're going to give up hope. I personally think that. So, and if you're on a 1 acre plot with someone you hate, that's going to change quickly.
Yeah, you could kill them.
Not where I was headed, but you're not wrong. It gives you something to do. Like, I could always kill Frank. I could do that today if I'm bored. That's great. That'd be kind of an interesting movie, like a little mini student film for the situation.
Yeah, I genuinely, I don't really hate anyone. I think I don't think hate is a strong word. So I don't really know what I would pick in that scenario. I hate being alone, so hate would probably be it. But I don't really know who I'd pick.
I don't either. I don't really hate anybody, but I mean, of course there's people I would rather not hang around with, but I think that would change quickly. Like,
Or you
how
just
how long can you actually sit across from someone, nowhere else to go, and not speak to them?
you're right.
How that wouldn't last very long.
Yeah, I have a difficulty doing that in office space with strangers. Or I can't shut my mouth, so I'm not going
Right
to be
there
able to
with
do
you.
that on a desert island. Just think, hello, how are you?
But and to
Doctor's
your point,
appointments.
there's always a solution. You can always kill them.
You could always kill them, and then you have food.
This keeps getting darker. I like it. I think where we're headed. The movie ratings are definitely, yeah.
I've had to think through my absurd questions, so obviously, I have.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. Minorly, I wouldn't kill anyone.
Right.
I was never stranded on a deserted island, so I wouldn't really know that.
It's true.
But at this point in time, I have no plans to kill anyone. Anyone that, if I'm ever involved
if I had to be on the stand right now,
one time, I want it to be on record. I have no plans.
oh boy, yeah, that's good. That's good. It's good you're keeping yourself on the positive track this week.
Bizarre turn of podcast conversation. This is very funny. Anyway,
You just started a true crime podcast. You didn't even know it.
they should hire me for that too. I don't, I'll make another one. They'll ask me to create a name for it, and I'll be horrible at that. He always asks me to do creative things, and I tell him I'm the least creative person you can ever be.
Oh no, you're killing people on fake deserted island. How non-creative could you be?
Oh, I got bits.
Okay, this is rehearsed.
No. It wouldn't be nearly as good if it was.
Wow.
Lastly.
Okay.
All right. Let's get a topical question. Okay. Bad press or no press at all? What's worse?
I really couldn't pick one. I think it was Brene Brown. She said something like, you can either piss some people off or you can not matter at all. So, and I love her. She's amazing. So I guess no press at all would be worse. I mean, especially in today's age, like 20 years ago, bad press was a lot worse than it is now. Now it's like, who cares?
Kind of disappear after a while.
Yeah, because there's so much that like nobody's going to remember it tomorrow anyway. But I do subscribe to the idea that if you're liked by everybody, then you're just white noise.
That's true.
You don't really have opinions. You're not taking big swings. So, I would guess that no press at all would probably be worse in my mind.
No, I can resonate with that. I think it depends on the bad press too. Like if you're out for, kids
murdering somebody on a deserted island.
Murdered somebody on a desert island. I don't even think they could be that mad about it. They had the those people.
It was Frank. Who cares? Like, we hate the guy.
Yeah, Frank sucks. Yeah.
Sorry to all the Franks out there. I just picked the name
Frank.
out of a hat. Nothing personal.
I mean that, people might not even be mad. Like if you're like kicking babies, I think,
Wow.
that's
Okay.
something that people wouldn't really like. The vast majority, I would assume,
Not in
would
general,
not.
unless that's like part of their culture.
Yeah, I think even if it was a cultural thing, I'm not sure how that came incorporated into culture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
These are accidentally kicking
lightly,
babies.
Lightly. I don't
It
know. The
was clumsy.
Spartans would throw them off cliffs, but yeah,
Wow.
it's fun. History is fun. But yeah, no, I would tend to agree, especially if it's bad debatably. Like if it's bad to some people or it's bad to, I think that sometimes bad press can kind of work in your favor because
Oh, sure.
you had put a little twist on it, or
Well, it's attention.
yeah, it's attention, or people know about you, and even if they think poorly of you, you can always change that image by doing something that is different, or you can keep doing the same thing, and then people that do resonate with your bad behavior will hire you.
And then you start your evil empire.
Yes, exactly. Everyone needs to have a little bit of an evil empire. Not really. I don't quote me on that.
I mean, I would want it for the sharks with lasers. Other than that, I don't care about the rest.
I would love sharks with lasers. I've been
Absolutely.
asking about this for months. They have not yet added them to the
Volcano
office.
layer. Oh yeah, the whole Dr. Evil bit. I would
Yes,
all that.
I would really enjoy that.
Sure.
Well, this is all the time we have today.
Really accomplished some things here today.
We did. We talked about a lot of important things, and we talked about a lot of fun things,
Right.
which are equally as important and fun, and
Absolutely.
make the podcast a lot more clickable. Which
Absolutely.
is my favorite thing. And also, I love to laugh on the podcast. That's the best part.
Yes.
And learn and less. The two double L's that
It's almost a sign at Hobby Lobby.
Yes, live, laugh, love.
Yeah, there you go.
Love.
Learn.
Live,
Frank,
laugh, learn, laugh.
whatever.
Frank. Kill Frank.
Yeah, we hate that guy.
This-
The thing. It's the thing.
Someone's gonna sue. Some guy named Frank's gonna die near me.
I just
and
bought the
someone's gonna
domain. I just
sue
bought the
me.
domain. It's done. Killfrank.com. It's
Oh,
going up.
perfect. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Okay, we can
It's
collaborate.
probably
together.
taken.
Probably. Kill.
What's one of my favorite pastimes is having a bourbon and going and buying silly domains for this next idea.
This site can't be reached. Check if there's a typo. Not real. Not real.
You're right.
You can get it right now.
I'm gonna have to before this podcast airs.
5 cents. I'll go with you.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, thank you so much for being such an incredible guest. This was a fantastic time.
Yeah,
I love
thank you,
having a
Shannon.
good time and some laughs on the podcast. I appreciate you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone that has been watching or listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See more funny stories like this. And hopefully no one named Frank dies in the near future. We might get in a little trouble.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.